You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today, we are looking at some players who I think might be prime candidates to sell away, to trade off your fantasy basketball team. Michael Bolton.
Let's get to it.
Of course, the disclaimer, which I always have to say, this is not an exhaustive list. So coming and writing in the comments, what about this guy? How sure he is a sell high guy? Yes, maybe he is, but I can't go through every sell high or buy low or waiver wire or drop player every single week. I do have to pick out some guys to talk about, and that's what we're doing in this show. So most likely the guy you're talking about is going to be that option. And hey, I'm happy to discuss it in the comments down below on the video or on Twitter as well. But that's just the reason why not every single player is included in these mini videos. Enough of me talking shit. Let's get onto the sell high list. The first guy is the man who absolutely erupted yesterday, and that is Bertans of the Washington Wizards. Over the last 2 weeks, Bertans is the 20th ranked player. 20th. He is hitting over 5 threes a game, scoring 20 points per game. He's shooting 51% from the field, 92% from the line, 50% from three for an astonishing true shooting percentage of 72%. And you can tell me that he's an excellent shooter, and I will 100% believe you, not because you said it, but because it's absolutely true. Is he a bloke that hits 5 threes a game and knocks in 50% of his threes? Of course he isn't. He is also riding this crest of getting some extra minutes as Hachimura plays more of those minutes at center, although that is dying off a little bit now with Mahinmi back. But they are relying heavily on Bertans at the moment. Usage, still not high, still 20%, but that's not what he's been doing in his career. There's just this volume and this percentage of threes going in, and him being the 20th ranked player, realistically on the back of the three-pointers made category, which is not a sustainable figure. Now, where can Bertans be the rest of the season? Is he a top 100 guy? Of course he is. I think he's a guaranteed top 100 guy the rest of the way. I think he's probably close to a top 70 guy. But if someone wants to give you a top 40 player back, I would absolutely do that deal. Because if those 5 threes go down to a still really, really good 3 threes a game, that's lopping so much value off what Bertans does. And that pushes him back outside the top 50. Because those other numbers, they're not superb. Like 5 rebounds, 0.9 blocks, 0.6 steals. They're not great. So it is really being carried by that one number at the moment. I think you get the drift. The next player I want to talk about is Evan Fournier of the Orlando Magic. Fournier is rolling at the moment, really putting up some strong numbers. He is the 24th ranked player over the last 2 weeks, averaging 25 points on 50% shooting, including 49% from three. So you can see the obvious regression there. The other thing is his usage is at 28% and his minutes are at 33. When Nikola Vucevic returns, which looks like it's not going to be too far away, Fournier is likely to see a decrease in his in his usage. And then, of course, that usage or that efficiency is not going to stick at this level. So Fournier is the 52nd ranked player over the course of the season, 24th over the last 2 weeks. I think he drops back down. I think he can remain a top 100 player, and that's not something I thought I would have said at the beginning of the season, but he is so much better than he was last year, but he also isn't this level of player. So a top 50 guy, if you want to get a top 50 guy back in return, I would absolutely endorse that sort of a trade for Evan Fournier. The next guy we look at here, Jalen Brown of the Boston Celtics. Brown, I've heard a lot of talk recently about Brown perhaps being an all-star this season. Maybe you can. I haven't actually gone through and given, for my Patreon subscribers, I gave my projected, or not my projection, what I would pick as my all-star starting lineups, but I haven't gone through the whole team yet. As for Jalen, over the last 6 games, 22 and 6, 2.5 threes, 1.2 steals, shooting 56 and 72. Now, I feel pretty confident that the changes he has made in his free throw shooting can stick this season. I don't think he's a 56% shooter, of course. The assists are still really, really low. I think that what we'll see now with Hayward back in the lineup, that we'll see the rebound start to decrease as he pushes down a position. So that'll hurt his overall value. The usage at 24% will also likely come down with Hayward back in the lineup. So this is the prime time to sell off Jalen Brown, who is, amazingly, the 51st ranked player, never been a top 100 guy in the past. So really putting in some strong performances, Jalen, but he isn't a third-round type of a player. And again, a top 50 target, a top 40 target is what you should be looking at as a trade option. Like if someone offered me someone, say like a Zach LaVine, in exchange for a Jalen Brown, I probably would take that deal. Or other slumping type players, a Kyle Lowry, I would likely take that deal as well. Benny Mclemore, a guy who's not even rostered in many leagues, but if you do have him, he is crushing it. The 38th ranked player over the last 2 weeks, rostered in only 32% of leagues. He's averaging 18 points with 4.5 threes and 51% shooting. So the dog's balls are there for you. You can see them. Over 4 threes a game, not going to stick. 51% shooting, not going to stick. 18 points, not going to stick. When Eric Gordon returns, he's just not going to have this level of playing time. He's been great for this stretch. There's no doubt about that, and he is absolutely worth a 12-team stream at the moment. But over the course of the season, and he has played 22 minutes a game, Mclemore, he's the 203rd ranked player. So while it's great to add him, if I could get any top 100 player back, even top 110 guy, I would absolutely do it in exchange for Benny Mclemore at this point. Another guy who's benefiting from some increased usage, Budrick Hield of the Sacramento Kings. He's 46th over the last 2 weeks. He is 50th over the course of the season, but he has played nearly all of this season without Marvin Bagley. He's played the recent stretch without De'Aaron Fox, and they are two guys who are going to get touches. Bagley's a high usage guy, Fox is a moderate usage guy, and putting them in the starting lineup with Hield, he's not going to have this same opportunity to have as many shots. 24 points per game. I think almost as importantly, 6 boards and 4 assists, which are not things that Hield is normally known for. And with Fox and Bagley returning, one to take assists, one to take rebounds, both to take shots, we are going to see Bud's numbers drop back down. If you can get a top 50 guy back in a trade, that is absolutely what I'd be looking to do, because Bagley is set to return today, in a couple of hours after me recording this, and then we get Fox coming back, probably still a few weeks away, but we're going to see a bit of a decline, I think, in Hield's overall value. Next guy we look at here should be a pretty obvious one, but PJ Tucker is the 54th ranked player over the last 2 weeks. He's playing 39 minutes a game. That's a red flag right there. 9.5 points, so that's obviously not great, but 10 boards, 1.3 steals, 2 triples. He's shooting at consistently very, very high rates. His best category over this time has been his rebounding, because he had a 19 rebound game the other day. I think that people obviously often look at PJ Tucker and they really inflate his value because they look at it with turnovers on, and you know my thoughts of evaluating players with turnovers on. It's completely skews ranking metrics, so do not use them. But if someone else uses them, you should be looking to get rid of Tucker and using that to your advantage. I think the shooting at some point is going to cool off. These random high... I think what we should be looking at him as a three-pointer and steals type of player. His percentages are so far above anything that he's ever done in his career that it seems... Look, and he might still finish his season as a career best, and I think that's probably a realistic chance. But at this sort of level, with this high-level rebounds, with these high minutes, there are just too many factors there where I go, maybe not. And all those things put in together, plus the turnover inflation in ranking metrics, means that you can probably get better value back for Tucker in a deal than you can just by holding on to him. The next guy, the Jedi, OG Anunoby.
Hello there.
Anunoby, it didn't look great for him about a week ago, but over the last last 2 weeks, he's the 65th ranked player. 31 minutes, 10 points, 6.5 boards, a 3, 2.3 steals, and 0.7 blocks. But now, initially at the start of that, Kyle Lowry was out. Lowry came back, and then we saw Norman Powell really cutting into Anunoby's minutes. We thought, oh, here we go. But then Fred VanVleet went out, so Powell pushed back to the 2, and Anunoby's minutes went back up. So when VanVleet is back, will we see Anunoby go from 32 minutes back down to 26 again, like we saw for that 1 or 2 game sample with Lowry and VanVleet playing? I think it's a legitimate chance. His value is really being buoyed here by those high steal numbers, 2.3 per game, which is keeping him in this top 70 range. I reckon we might actually see Anunoby become a 12-team drop. I'm not dropping him, but I reckon we might see that become the case. So, if anybody wants to give you this value back, 71st on the season, 65th over the last 2 weeks, if anyone wants to give you back a top 75 guy, I would jump at that opportunity for Anunoby. And it's not that I don't like him, because you know that I do. It's just that there are a few things there that I am really worried about, the high steal rate and the minutes coming down when VanVleet does actually return. Let's cycle back to Boston now and look at Jason Tatum, who is playing some really, really good basketball, but over the last 2 weeks, he is the 7th ranked player. 7th. I don't think that he's the 7th best player in fantasy basketball. He's averaging 23 points a game and 8 rebounds, over 3 threes, 1.8 steals and 1.2 blocks. And they are really the 2 things that are keeping him up, because he's not doing it on unsustainable shooting, 43% and 39 from 3. But we've seen an increase in usage. He's at almost 30% usage with Hayward out. The rebounds are up, pushing up more to power forward as well. Plus those defensive numbers, the steals and the blocks through the roof. Tatum's the 32nd ranked player overall. I think that if you can get That's sort of where he falls back to. But if anyone wants to give you a top 20 guy, that might be hard to achieve. But this is the time to do it because he is rolling. He is putting up numbers. He is probably going to be an all-star. There's a lot of value here in Tatum at the moment, but I just don't think he can maintain this level because those defensive numbers, they're probably going to find it hard to stick at that sort of a level. And the last bloke I want to talk about here is Big Steve Adams. Funaki is the 29th ranked player over the last 2 weeks in only 28 minutes a game. It's super impressive, averaging 14 and 10. But what is really impressive about what Adams is doing is 3 assists and 2 blocks. He's hitting 75% of his free throws and 71% of his field goals. So his 2 best categories are field goal percentage and blocks over this time. The field goal percentage, absolutely. He can do that. He just had a really weird start to the season. The blocks, he has never been a shot blocker. That's got nothing to do with Westbrook not being there. The assists and rebounds, sure, they are up because Russ isn't there. The free throws, has he figured it out? I'm not so sure. There is some value here in Adams. It's not this level of value. He's the 114th ranked player on the season. If anyone, again, wants to go top 60 for you with Adams, I would happily do it. If you go to top 80, I'd say, yeah, look, there's a chance he could remain a top 80 player. The assists seem real. If he can keep the rim protection going and improve his free throws, then he can do it. But if anyone wants to give you a top 60 guy back for a guy who is top 30 over the last 2 weeks, I would absolutely look at that deal and be pretty happy in accepting it. That'll do it for today's sell high video. Now, I said at the start, if there's anyone else you think might be a sell high, drop it in the comments down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening to it, go and find the video on my Twitter account, on my Facebook, and go and share it with your friends. That's a great way of helping the show. And a 5-star rating and review is also excellent. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.